let's talk about movies. How's this for something different? I took a bachelor's degree in film, in particular film aesthetics and analysis. I love movies. I love movies, and so I love swashbucklers and movies that are about that element. Movies about chivalry and swashbuckling, and sometimes those movies involve swords, and sometimes they don't. Now there are certainly a lot of movies with a lot of swords that really suck. But the reason they suck is not necessarily because the swordplay is so bad. It's just a terrible movie. So when I think about movies that I really like, sword movies I really like, or at least scenes that are particularly good, I think, you have to keep in mind that but a lot of people look at it and say, well, that's not accurate historically to the way they would do blah, 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 blah. And I say, yeah, well, it's not a fucking documentary on swordplay, okay? They're not worried about the denotation of the sword. They're exercising the connotation of the sword. That is, the feelings that it invokes in you, not the literal practice of the sword. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to the story if the guy's holding his hand in tierce or tiercing cart. It doesn't fucking matter. So once you get past that and drop that bit out of your mind, and look at what the meanings are of these things. First, I have to say that I love anything choreographed by William Hobbs. He was just the best of the best, man. And if you want to see the combination of the proper swordplay, that is using the weapons in the way they were made to be used and accurate to the time being portrayed, and at the same time using them in a way that drives the story forward and reveals character, which you should be doing at every moment, right? He's the man as far as I'm concerned. So quite naturally, one of my favorite films is Ridley Scott's film, The Duelists. Every scene in it is like a Renaissance painting. Every shot is first cinematically, is such a brilliantly done film. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful to watch. The mise en scène is fantastic. I mean, just everything about it is just wonderful. The score is terrific. But we want to talk about swords, so let's go there. It opens with a fight with small swords that is brilliant, reveals character. But of all the pieces in there, and there are 3 or 4 or 5 different moments in there, one of my favorites, maybe my favorite of that film, is the saber fight in the barn. Because it's dark and ugly and nasty and bloody. And these guys are whanging blows at each other. They're way past exhaustion until they're rolling in the dirt. And they're covered in blood. And a little child whispers, "Are they dying now?" Yeah, man. See, that's the reality of the fight. That's what they captured in that moment. It's not all this wackety whack, giddy up, bang, bang, smart ass punchlines. Nah. So, that's my favorite. Another favorite of mine is, this may be William Hobbs too, come to think of it, to choreograph this, but I'm not certain. It's Rob Roy starring Liam Neeson. And there's the struggle between good and evil at the end. And here's why I love this. It's a rapier versus that Scottish cleaver. Yeah, you know, the meat cleaver versus the and in the fight, Rob Roy is getting the worst of it. He's dying the death of 1,000 cuts at the hands of his adversary. And he's too slow. He's too predictable. The other guy's too fast, too clever. It's going badly for the hero. They have agreed in this fight, no quarter shall be asked or given. That means they're going to fight till one or both of them is dead. So there comes a moment in the fight in which the bad guy has Rob Roy at his mercy. At his mercy. But he doesn't kill him. Instead, he looks over toward his patron, take that moment to enjoy what he's doing, to inflict a little unnecessary cruelty on his opponent, taunting him with the fact that, yeah, you're gonna die now, pal. And in that moment, when he hesitates to indulge in this excess, Rob Roy takes the moment, seizes his blade, grabs up his great sword, and cleaves him in twain, daddy-o. He's a dead motherfucker before he hits the floor. Now, the reason I like that scene has nothing to do with the swords. Understand what happened here on a spiritual level. They had agreed, no quarter shall be asked or given. So the bad guy ought to have just killed Rob Roy clean out when he had the chance. Boom, that's it. That's what we agreed to. He didn't do that. Instead, he took a little time out to indulge in some cruelty. And that's what cost him his life. It was in that moment that his opponent took the advantage. Right? See what's going on there? He surrendered the moral law to Rob Roy when he broke their agreement that no quarter shall be asked or given. That's karma, baby. Tell you one more that I really like. There's no swords in it though. You're gonna have to understand that the Western is the 19th century American version of Tales of Chivalry from Europe, right? That the feudal knight errant is transplanted to the Wild West as the wandering gunslinger, Shane, right? Sam Peckinpah's film The Wild Bunch, in which a bunch of aging desperados who have lived long past their time have made a deal with a Mexican would-be generalissimo. And in the course of their dealings with this guy, one of their friends, also Mexican, has been found out to have been a traitor to the general, and he's being tortured to death, dragged around behind a car, wrapped in barbed wire, poked with sticks, you name it. He's in bad shape. So the rest of the gang, they decide they've got to go get their friend. Now there's 1,000 soldiers around there, and this Mexican generalissimo and a German consultant, and these 4 or 5 guys, the Wild Bunch, they come out and they confront him. And there they are, a handful of guys surrounded by these guys reveling, and they're having this big party. And the leader says to the generalissimo, "We want our friend." And the general says, "You want him? You can have him." And he cuts his throat and throws him down the steps. At which point the leader of the gang pulls out his gun and shoots him. Kills him, boom, just like that. And there's a moment. There's a moment of suspended time when all this thousands of, however many guys are, right, this whole army, he just shot their general, killed him stone cold dead. And they're all going, what the fuck do we do now? There's that moment of frozen time, where death gives you an opportunity to dance your last dance before you go. And in that moment of frozen time, the leader and his best buddy exchange a look, because they've already said how they want to go out. And then the leader takes a cold, calm, calculated shot, blows away the German advisor, and then all hell breaks loose. And of course, the Wild Bunch are all killed. There's only 5 of them. But they give as good as they get during that time, you know. Anyway, the reason I love that scene is because I have experienced suspended time. And I think Peckinpah does a marvelous job of portraying that in the film. Maybe you have experienced something like that. If you have, I don't care, it doesn't matter, but cool. You know, don't write in and tell me about it, because there's nothing I can do about it. Anyway, I love that film. I think I have watched just the ending of that film probably 100 times. It's a good fencing lesson, a real good fencing lesson.